Εξομολογήστε το Κύριο διαγατός, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια.
Yeah, go on.
Obviously I'm new here, yeah? That's the second time I came here. I'm a big fan, first of all. Shake your hand.
Nice to meet you.
I've seen your videos, yeah? We've been talking a
Here's a
lot,
cup.
yeah? Thank you. We've been talking a lot about God because of you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm a bit stressed because there's cameras all over, yeah?
Yeah.
But I've heard that there is 6 or 7 books missing from the Bible.
Yeah.
And that's a problem with me, so I would like to ask it.
So the question is, guys, what different? So let me give some context to the question. Different Christians have different collections of books in their Bibles. If you pick up an Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, you're going to have 81 books in your Bible. If you pick up a Roman Catholic book, you're going to have 72 books in your Bible. And if you pick up a Reformed Church Bible, you're going to pick up 66 books in your Bible. So what's the significance of this? I want to point out some facts that lots of people don't know when they make this comment. Christians have 100% agreement about the 27 books of the New Testament. And Christians believe that you can be saved by just believing in one of the Gospels, which is in the New Testament. So in other words, everything that is necessary for salvation can be found in every Bible owned by every kind of Christian. There are, however, differences of books that we still should talk about. And those books are connected to the Old Testament. In other words, they are books that are not necessary for salvation. But some Christians believe that you can teach from them in church. And don't let him distract you, guys. Don't let him distract you. Some Christians believe that you can. Some Christians believe he's just triggered because he lost the debate. He's just triggered because he lost the debate. But because of him, I'll just go back to Islam and talk more about Islam. So, ladies and gentlemen, so the books in the Old Testament, are books that some Christians believe you can teach from in church, and other Christians believe that you can't teach from in church, but they're still good to read, like reading C.S. Lewis or G.K. Chesterton, right? They're not books inspired by the Holy Spirit, but they are books that you can still read. So Luther rejected the Deuterocanon canon, but he still encouraged Christians to read it, as did John Calvin, as did Zwingli. So all Christians agree that these books are books that we can read, but we disagree about whether we can teach from them in church. However, for what it comes to essential Christian doctrine, we've got 100% agreement. Now compare that to the Muslims. Muslims have no agreement about which hadiths to use to interpret the Quran. They reject one another's hadiths. But depending on which hadiths you use, your Islam is going to look very different. Okay, next question. Any other questions about Christianity? Before I go on and teach a topic.
Book of Enoch.
What?
Reparations.
Book of Enoch.
Sorry?
Reparations.
Right.
Conversation before.
Yeah.
And I think you was trying to shift the focus on Islam with the slavery. And I think the Christians should deal with their thoughts on.
Okay. So the question of reparations, let's deal with that. What are my thoughts as a Christian about the question of reparations? Basically, I come down against the idea of reparations. Why? Well, I'm dealing with a question, bro. Why? Wait, I'm sorry, I'm dealing with this question. It's 3356, I think. Right? So why do I think that we shouldn't pay reparations? Firstly, this brother has never been a slave. He is not the victim of colonial European slavery.
Indirectly.
He is not a victim of colonial slavery. That's the first point. Secondly, The idea of paying reparations is a sticky wicket because we can't in every case trace out who is a direct victim of, who even is a descendant of slavery. What about African immigrants who have moved to the Caribbean? And it was their ancestors that were selling the slaves to the Europeans, but now they're in the Caribbean. Should they receive compensation for slavery, though their ancestors were participants in the slave trade? Secondly, so we can't necessarily trace out who should get reparations. Thirdly, reparations have been paid in full. The descendants of the slaves have received entire countries of their own. The Caribbean islands belong to the descendants of slaves. Those islands, if you were to take their value in money, goes into trillions of pounds. Forget the fact that the Church of England is considering something ridiculous like 1 billion. The value of the land in the Caribbean islands is valued in trillions of pounds. And who owns it? Not the British, the descendants of the slaves. Compensation paid in full. Fourthly, there is a hypocrisy around demanding compensation from me and people like me.
We didn't give those islands.
No, we took them and placed them there. No, they were uninhabited until we arrived and took people there. Right? That's the history of the. They didn't belong. They weren't there originally.
They weren't ours to give, were they?
No, they were empty. They were unoccupied. No one lived there. The Caribbean islands were empty. Go and stand next to him, and I'll talk to you both. Go and stand next to him. I'll talk to you both. Let's have a conversation, not a shouting match.
You're alluding that we gifted them to them.
No, they have
So
them.
that was their reparations.
They do, yes, the Caribbean.
nothing to do with us.
Well, actually, it is. The British Empire did surrender the Caribbean islands to the descendants of slaves. It did. It's just a fact.
They weren't ours.
They were empty, bro. No one owned them.
They weren't ours to give.
So who did they belong to?
Well, not us, British.
Right. If they don't belong, if you find something that doesn't belong to anyone and you pick it up, do you have possession?
They say possession is 9/10 of the law.
There you go.
I'm not sure if that has any legal standing.
It does, because if the police can't find the owner of something, the person that hands it in after a certain amount of time can claim the thing that they handed in. Because if they can't find the original owner,
The same principles apply to land.
well, I would say so. But my point to you is, one second. There was no one there, bro. Can you evidence that somebody was there? Let me ask you this question though, bro. Do you think that Arab Muslims should pay reparations for 1400 years of slavery? No, answer the question. I want you to answer the question. Why are you running away from the question again? I want you to answer. You're not Muslim. I want you to answer. Yes, but this is a conversation because I'm about to show again. I think.
Shifting the focus once again.
I think you're running away from your own moral inconsistency. You're running away from your own moral inconsistency. Do you believe? I'm asking you a question. Do you believe that Arabs should compensate black people for the Islamic slave trade?
Most definitely. It was much worse. That was before. But we're dealing with Christianity. Islam, Christianity.
Okay, at least you're consistent. Carry on. What's your argument?
So Christianity, if you've done wrong, reparations. You believe reparations.
Right.
And why not? If you don't?
So let me address that point. Because I haven't done that wrong. I have not. Wait, 1 second. First, a couple of things. Firstly, I was not responsible for the slavery of 200, 300 years ago. Right? But, I don't know if you know this, my taxes did pay off the national debt connected to slavery because the national debt connected to slavery was only paid off in the last 20 years. So, because when they freed the slaves, and we might disagree, We did, well, that's just a fact, bro. When we freed the slaves, which was immoral to do, just like the Arab slavery was immoral to do, the government of the time, and we might disagree whether this was right or fair, but it paid off the slave owners.
Slave owners.
Yes, I agree. Right. But the point is, hold on one second. I contributed to paying off the national debt that was connected to that decision hundreds of years ago, even though I had nothing to do with that slave trade.
I think
Do you-
compensation for the free labor of those hundreds of years.
Right. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you think that you should pay compensation for the fact that ancestors of yours traded in slaves?
Africa never traded in slaves, bro.
Yes, they did.
Africa never.
They did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they
No,
did.
didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Who do you think sold the slaves to us? It was other Africans.
Arabs.
Yes, that as well.
The Arabs did.
Yes, because
The Arab slaves.
there were African Muslims who sold slaves to us.
No black soldiers.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
And they did it because of Islam.
Yes, they are.
Go on, bro.
Yes, they are.
Answer my question.
Amina Castle.
Answer my
Amina
question.
Castle- hold on a second.
Wait,
They
wait.
never did.
No, I won't. Why are you running away from a question? I won't forget my question. I won't forget my question.
Debate me, that's what I'm saying to you. I'm the real man. I told you right now about slavery in North Africa. A slavery started in North Africa. A slavery started in North Africa.
I don't know if that's
The
true, but go on.
The Trans-Saharan
Can I give you this?
slave trade, he's the one that started. The Arab taught the European how to sell people. Almina Castle in Ghana is an Arabic name. Mina means ports.
Yes.
You understand? No black man, no melanated man sold each other. This is a propaganda created by the Arabs, people from Central Asia, and the caste system.
Okay, right. Let me reply to that.
Yeah.
You are going to have to provide evidence that demonstrates that Africans have never practiced slavery. One second. Because we know that in places like Malawi, in places like North
Where in
Africa,
Malawi?
one second, right? There are accounts by, for instance, Livingstone, who was in the Sudan, and he tells the story of African Muslims trading other Africans as slaves. They didn't do it because they were black. They didn't do it because they were black. They did it because of Islam.
All the history, all the written history. Remember,
It certainly wasn't because they were black.
Different tribes.
remember.
Should Arabs compensate? Should Arabs compensate black people for their slave trade?
Yes.
Should we?
First.
Right.
Do Christians first.
One second.
Reparation, I
One
was through the
second.
court
Let's
right
deal.
now.
Let's deal with the argument about reparations.
Hold on a second.
Let's deal with- go on.
Because you asked me a question, yeah?
Yes.
North Africa,
Yes.
the slave trade is started by the Arab and people from
I agree.
The Arabs,
Well, no, that's
the
not true,
modern
actually.
day-
That's not true. I
hold
take
on,
that back.
the
I take that
modern
back.
day Arab, they're not Arab. They are Bedouins. The word Arab, it means Negro. It came from the Turkish people. Do you understand?
No,
Yes.
Arab doesn't.
Arab, it means from the Turks. Ziji.
The-
Arab, it means a black man.
No,
Let me
I'm
explain
not
to you
so
again.
sure that's
Let me
true.
explain-
I'm
let me
not so
explain-
sure that's
no,
true.
No, you're not sure. I'm going to show you the facts. All right, you don't want to speak Turkish, do you? You don't.
No,
So what
I'll
I'm
have a
saying-
conversation with you, but let's have a conversation where we talk to one another.
All right.
That means I get to reply.
All right. Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
So let me explain to you again. So the Arab and the Asiatic Hindu introduced that slave trade to the European. The Arabs started the slave trade in North Africa and the Horn of Africa. Like the Somali, they're slaves of the people that
Can I-
have been
can I
enslaved.
reply?
And like the Ethiopians,
Can I
they're
reply?
also slaves.
Can I
These
reply?
guys have been enslaved. Yeah, go.
Okay. Were the Egyptians Africans?
Yes.
Who are
Yes.
you talking-
Yes.
Hold on,
Did
hold on,
they
hold
own
on.
slaves?
Who are you talking about?
Yes.
I'm
What
talking about the
Egyptians?
pharaohs.
The pharaohs.
Yes. Were they
What
Africans?
dynasty?
The earliest.
The earliest dynasty that never sold no one.
Right. So
If you're talking about the
one
Hyksos,
one second.
yeah,
Right.
They came over.
The-
These men came through Sinai. They came through Jordan River.
Right.
Those Camelmans, yeah.
No.
Those Camelmans that came through
Brother,
Jordan River.
brother.
They come through Israel.
Brother.
They crossed over the Jordan
Okay.
River.
Shall we have a conversation?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So,
They have no
right.
dynasty.
So
Yeah.
the thing is,
Yeah.
it's pretty well established,
Yeah.
even today,
Yeah.
that Africans are trading in slaves. If you go to Malawi, yes they
No,
do.
I disagree.
If you go to Mali,
What year?
Mali,
What year?
now, right now, If you go to Mali right now, you can find African Muslims who own other African Muslims as slaves.
That is not true.
That is true.
That's not true.
Oh my gosh,
That is
right.
not true.
It is
That
true.
is not true.
It is truth. Even he agrees with. Right, okay.
It's not true. Where in Mali? Where in Mali?
It is true.
Where in
It's
Mali?
true.
Where is it in Mali?
Right.
Where is it in Mali? No, it's not true, bro. No, it's not true. I'm telling you, it's not true. This is all propaganda. It's not true. The Central Asiatic man came over through the Jordan River with their camels and with their stuff, yeah, and they started selling black melanated people.
Right, one second.
Over there. Yeah.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, hold on.
It's
Let's
not true.
bear with us.
Tap the screen, guys. Tap the screen. Say the lies.
Bear with
I'm
us.
gonna debunk all these
Right.
guys, the liars about the situation.
So let me just give you a stat, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just give you a stat. You're triggered. You're triggered. Let me just give you a stat from the Anti-Slavery Society. Forced labour in sub-Saharan Africa today is estimated at 660,000 people. So over half a million slaves currently exist in Africa right now. And the majority of those are owned by Muslims, ladies and gentlemen. So,
how old is Google?
I'm afraid, bear with me.
How old is Google?
Right,
old is Google?
places where slavery is prevalent.
25 years
Eritrea, Mauritania, South Sudan,
They are the Janjaweed.
North Sudan.
They are known as the Janjaweed. The
Yes.
Janjaweed, which means the radicals.
They're Arabized
Hold on a second.
Africans.
No,
They're
they're not.
Arabized
They're not.
Africans.
The Janjaweed are not Africans. Remember.
They're Arabized
South
Africans.
Asia- No.
Yes,
South-
they are.
Hold on a second.
They're Arabized
South
Africans.
Asia-
Because you're not having a
South Asia-
conversation
No,
and
no,
you're
no,
just
no,
talking
no,
over
no,
me,
no, no.
then I'm just going to talk over you.
Can I reply?
No,
Can I reply?
because you've just been talking over me the whole time.
No, I'm not talking
So
over
until you learn to have a conversation,
You
I'm
learn
just
how to
going to
have a
keep
conversation.
talking.
You learn how-
And I'll
you
keep
gotta learn how to
talking
have a conversation.
until you allow me to speak without interruption, and then we'll have a conversation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just talk about the Janjaweed. Who are the Janjaweed? You never hear about them in the liberal media because the liberal media don't want to tell you the story of the Islamic slave trade that is happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. The Sudanese civil war occurred in the late 1900s because the Sudanese government wanted to Arabize the African people of South Sudan. And the South Sudanese Christians refused to be Arabized and they fought back. And a civil war occurred in Sudan that went on for 18 years. 18 years in which Islamic armies marched into Christian villages and killed 2 million African Christians.
10 million.
2 million.
10 million. You're lying.
Ladies
I'm
and
not telling the
gentlemen,
truth. 10 million.
they also raped African Christian women. They also kidnapped African Christian children, and nobody heard about it because the liberal media doesn't want to tell you the narrative, the story of Islamic aggression against Christian communities. The Janjaweed were the principal militant force of this Islamic jihad. The Janjaweed are Africans, ladies and gentlemen, who have been Islamified and Arabized. They think that they are Arabs. They speak in Arabic and they practice Arabic culture. And that is who we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, anyone else got a question? Because this guy's just incapable of having a conversation.
You're incapable of having a conversation.
You haven't listened to anything that I've been saying.
You've been saying about the Janjaweed.
Tough, I'm not interested. Do you want to come back to your question or are you done?
Well,
I'm done talking to him because he's incapable of having a conversation. That's unfortunate. Have you got a question? Have you got a question?
You can't debate me.
You can't debate. Bro, you can't debate. You can't debate. No one's running. We're just having a shouting match. No, we're not. No, we're not debating.
All
You
right,
were just
then.
having a
Go on,
shouting
go on, I'm
match
gonna slow down.
because
You take it on now.
because
The Janja way.
one second. No, hold on a minute.
Go on.
You're gonna have to listen to me speak.
All right, go on, I'm listening.
Okay,
Yeah, go on.
right. I've given you evidence that slavery is being practiced in Africa right now by Africans. So your claim that Africans have never sold people as slaves
Yes.
is factually false because it's going on right now.
It's not false.
Explain to me why it's false.
Okay, why it's false? The Janja way, those people that are known as the Janja way, remember, black people don't exist only in Africa. South Asia are black. Yeah, they're black people as well. So what they've done is they have brought Muslim people from South Asia into the Horn of Africa and North Africa. And those ones, some of them are Muslim as well. Those who are known as the Janja way. Like for example, the Hemorrhoids in Yemen, yeah, in Socotra and other people. They brought them in through North Africa and through the Sudan and area, and they said these people are from Africa. Black people existed in South Asia too. Like there's many tribes in South Asia, like the Dalits in South Asia, like the Rohingya people in South Asia, the Bengali, the Gujarati, all of those are black people, and some of them are Muslims. So the Janjaweed are radical, so they starting their own caliphate through Yemen. They're coming through, that's what happened with the Rohingya people in South Asia, and this is what it's been about. But you're saying black people are selling black people. No, that's not true. Why black South Asia?
Can I reply now?
Okay, but just 1 minute. Because black people in South Asia, they're also being ostracized through the caste system. So they brought them over as slave mercenaries. They came into Sudan, they came into Ethiopia, they came into North Africa, and they started selling black native people in North Africa.
Okay, right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you hear is delusional, counterfactual thinking. The brother is trying to say that Africans don't deal in slaves today. So I'm going to read from you the African Union's own 10-year plan, action plan, to eradicate child labour, forced labour, human trafficking and modern slavery in Africa by 2030. And what they state, this is an African Union source, so it is an African source. They state that there are, as of 2016, there are 72 million African children in child labour, 3 million adults in forced labour, and 5.8 million in forced marriages, or in other words, sexual slavery. So the idea that Africans are not practicing slavery is counterfactual against the evidence. The African Union says that slavery exists in Africa today. So I want you to correct yourself and admit that Africans are trading in slaves. Go on.
The African Union, what you're saying is delusional as well. I call it the African Union. The African Union have run and funded by Europe. And where was the African Union? Is in Ethiopia. They have manipulated. Ethiopia is being colonized from the 1800s. So the African Union is being colonized as well. So when they manipulate the news, where are the African Union when the Janjaweed have alive more than 10 million people in the Sudan?
Great question.
And enslaved people in those areas.
Great question.
The African Union have been funded by the Janjaweed and the Arabs.
Where were all the where's all the black activists and black militants speaking out against Islamic jihad against African Christians? It's a great question. Let me finish. Let me finish. However, are we just shouting over one another? Right? So the fact of the matter is, he hasn't actually addressed the evidence. All he has done is say that the African Union is some colonized organization.
Yes.
But he hasn't disproven the fact that Africans are dealing in slaves today in Africa.
Not African.
They're not African. Are Kenyans African?
There are are South Asiatic black who are migrated in.
Are Nigerians
I
African?
can tell you that
What
there
in
is
Nigeria?
African slave trade. I've
What are you
lived in
talking
Africa.
about in Nigeria? Are you
It's
talking
known.
about the Fulani
It-
gangs?
they-
What are you talking
they're
about?
transported on semi-trucks
What are you
in
talking
the back
about?
of semi-trucks.
Which one are you talking about, though? And that's what I'm saying to you, because when you're talking about specific people that were migrated from the other side of the sea and colonized the land. They brought them in as mercenaries, and those are the ones called as the Janjaweed radicals.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the brother is just incapable of engaging an argument. Right?
No, you are
I am
incapable,
not,
not me.
let's be clear. I want to be clear. I'm not trying to justify European slavery. Right? I'm not trying to justify European colonization. Right? But I do think, and one thing that I will respect this brother for, he's the first African or man of African descent that has spoken against the Arab slave trade. And it's about time that more black people speak against the Arab slave trade and the Islamic slave trade. Ladies and gentlemen, the trans-Saharan slave trade continued for 1400 years. However, since we're talking about reparations, let's try and move this conversation forward. If we're talking about reparations, do Africans who have traded in slavery also owe reparations to the people of the Caribbean? Should African nations also pay reparations?
Can I answer this?
Yeah, go on.
All right. I have to say one thing. No. Why is no? The people that were sold us as black people, yeah, they're not the indigenous native black people in Africa. Those are after the defeat of the Moors in the 1400 and 1492. You have people, Asiatic people, have migrated through the sea and were known as Arabs or Bedouins. They have sold people into. So if there's anyone want to pay reparation, is the Arab and trans-Saharan Arab slave trade are the one that need to pay reparation, and they are responsible to this day. The Europeans are not responsible for that trans-Saharan slave trade. The Arabs, and they are still to this day in North Africa. The slavery started in North Africa. Almina Castle in Mali was known as Almina Castle because of the Arabic name.
Okay.
Mina means port in Arab.
So let me reply to that.
Yeah.
So firstly, your statement that the slavery started in North Africa is false.
No, it's not.
The Romans and the Greeks practiced slavery before the Arabs invaded North Africa.
Where's your evidence?
Here's my evidence. Slavery is mentioned in the New Testament, which is a Roman document from the 1st century. And Jesus and the apostles talk about slavery. That is 700 years before Islam, which means that slavery existed before Islam in Africa and the Middle East. It is not the invention of any one society. Every society has its own history in slavery. Let me give you the opinion of two historians, John Thornton and Linda Haywood of Boston University, have estimated that of the Africans captured and then sold as slaves to the New World in the Atlantic slave trade, 90% of them were enslaved by fellow Africans. That's what historians are saying, and all this brother is saying is, well, I disagree. I want to see his evidence. I want to see his academic evidence.
You are quoting people that basically write in their own account, but they don't know that this guy's also delusional. Because what they do is they write stuff, and they say this is what has happened in their own account. It's a story. These guys are troublers. You know what I mean? I'm telling you the real facts. If you go and go to the British Museum right now, you can tell. You can go to also the first black Roman emperor is like September 7th. The Arab slave trade is the first. It started through a caste system where people came from South Asia.
The slave trade was alive and well during Abraham's day.
Yes.
No, but the Abrahamics, I'm not talking about the Abrahamics. You're talking about the Abrahamics. I'm not talking about the Abrahamics.
Are you dismissing? What's your name, bro? Zonji.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. Zonji, are you saying that you disagree with these historians about the slave trade because they're European?
No. Because they're a psychologist. They don't want to, yeah? They want to put the blame on the native people. The native people never sold each other.
Why?
Because they want to get away from the blame. They want
So can
to
I,
say, oh, these
let me
people
reply
sold
to that.
each
Let me
other
reply to
and
that.
manipulated the books. How can somebody that's been convicted and a slave sell each other?
Can I reply to that? Can I reply to that? The African slave trade, I'm going to give you another historian. This one's an African historian. Adowabi Tricia Nwabani wrote for the Wall Street Journal on the African role in the transatlantic and trans-Saharan slave trade. She observes that the 400th anniversary of the arrival of the slaves in Virginia coincide with the question about guilt and responsibility and a debate in the United States about reparations to the descendants of slaves. She observes that this fraught debate is largely absent in Africa, even though Africans were deeply involved in the slave trade. So that's 3 historians now that have all said that Africans participated in the slave trade. Can you find me one historian? 1 second. Wait, here's my... 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Can you... Well, listen. Can you show me an historian who teaches that Africans did not participate in the slave trade?
Okay, can I reply? Historian, that means telling history, his story. The black man have never told their story the way they are. They've had indoctrinated by either the Arabs or the European teaching. Most of the education system have been put in Africa and in other places have been put by people that will colonize them. So even when they had the Bible and had the Abrahamics, they also have been indoctrinated. So how dare you come and tell me this historian, they can free historians that they've been whiting. They took away the education system, their language, everything they have. And you are coming over trying to tell me these historians are telling it all. How the hell they not know?
Okay.
They don't know anything.
So I'm gonna bring
That's what I'm telling you.
brother.
If you go back,
Can I reply? Because I'm going to bring this conversation to a close. But the reason why I'm going to bring this conversation to a close is because it does not matter what evidence I bring to you. You're not interested in evidence. Your own. Wait. Are you interrupting? Are you interrupting? Right. Let's have a conversation. This is my final comment, and then I'm done. Right. Right. Because. Okay. I'm going to talk to you guys. Right. So in terms of. If you go to the Low Country Digital History Initiative, you will find out in the section under African participation and resistance to the trade. You will find that there is plenty of evidence to demonstrate that Africans did participate in the slave trade, and I want to encourage the black community to do better than this guy, because this guy is not helping you. If you're going to make arguments that are not evidentially based, you're going to hold the black community back. The black community will never advance when the people who are speaking about black rights and the black rights movement are dominated by ignorance. You need to reconcile the debate around slavery to African participation in the slave trade as well. We're done, bro. Have a good day.
You're running.
I'm running. I'm done. There's no. I'm running. There's no participation.
He showed you the Google, but you didn't show anything. You just had a war.
Right.
Listen, bro.
So,
when you see the
ladies and gentlemen, if anyone's got a question about Christianity, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go over here.